This is California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are at 23 ABC in Bakersfield today, and we are joined by David Couch. He is the chair of the Board of Supervisors in Kern County, which of course we know is the salad bowl to America. And there is no doubt that the salad bowl is looking for some water.
Yes.
It's a little thirsty.
Yep.
And so before we talk about one very critical issue, that's groundwater, I want to get a sense from you as a representative of significant portions of this county. How are you doing? How is your county doing? How are your constituents doing? Your farmers, your employees, how are they doing?
People work hard here, and I think we overall are doing pretty well. We have some challenges right now, but you know, we're facing them. You talk about the salad bowl and about the ag industry. Well, the price of oil has impacted us really hard, and because all those oil-producing properties pay property tax, and the price of oil dropped, as you know, by a very significant amount, and that resulted in about tens of millions of dollars in our budget that we normally count on that wasn't there.
These are tough times, but you're facing them with tremendous strength and vigor. You know, you have the drought that's impacting Kern County. You have oil with prices dropping.
It's still a good place to live.
And I was going to say, you know, but you're really facing it with a lot of fortitude and strength. At the same time, what we see is that so much of the ag industry, not just in Kern, but up and down the state, relies on what's known as groundwater.
Sure.
Literally water that is in the ground, and folks have their own wells, and they pump water out. What I have learned over the last few years is in some areas of the valley, Central Valley, the ground is collapsing on itself.
Subsidence.
Right. And it's spooky in a lot of ways. But what's spooky about the subsidence is it won't puff back up. Once there's subsidence, you know, that area of the groundwater basin is shot. So talk to us about your constituents who are facing subsidence, who are drilling deeper and deeper, and not much is coming out.
That's happening all over, especially my district, the 4th district, which is really the west side of Kern County. Lots and lots of people either deepening wells or existing wells or drilling new wells because the wells they've got have run dry. It's happening with small sort of urban or residential users, and it's happening with the big agricultural interests as well.
So as you know, last year the state of California passed for the first time in the state's history groundwater regulation. It's interesting, there was a lot of consternation over it, but we had been the only state west of the Mississippi with no groundwater regulation. Even Texas had groundwater regulation. So here we are, and I want to get a sense from you what you're hearing, again, back to your constituents, about the impending regulation, which will take time. It's over several years. But are people realizing, we got to do this, let's just buck it up? Are they still fighting?
Interestingly here, I can remember, previous to being on the city council, I was on the Bakersfield City Council. Excuse me, previous to being on the Board of Supervisors, I was on the city council in Bakersfield. And even back then, there was an effort to bring these different water districts and different interests together because they saw that this might come down the road one day.
I see.
And then this effort sort of got revived again about 2 or 3 years ago. And we got that group back together, and we, a couple of years ago, formed something called the Kern Groundwater Authority, which was just a group of these, the county, some cities, and these districts to have an entity that we could fund so we could do some studies and get ready for what we thought was coming. And what we thought was coming was SGMA.
Which is the groundwater regulation. I gotta say, it shows, because I have the good fortune, I travel around the state, interview members of boards of supervisors. You are way ahead of most folks on this, way ahead.
But we know now we're getting down to the very, we're getting in the weeds, we're getting to the difficult part. So things are gonna slow down a little bit, but for example, the first thing we've got to do is we've got to form a GSA or GSAs.
Which is the Groundwater Agency.
Sustainability Agency.
We're
going to have at least 2 because we've got 2 basins here in Kern County. You talked to Supervisor Gleason earlier. Indian Wells Valley has a basin on the east side of Kern County, and over here we have what's called the Kern sub-basin of the Tulare Basin. One outcome of this could be that this Kern Groundwater Authority, which was created, may become the GSA. We're working to that end, but not everybody is a member of the Kern Groundwater Authority.
Meaning?
Meaning, for example, the city of Bakersfield, 9th largest city in California, is not a member yet.
Because?
Well, they have concerns, as many members do. But there are issues. Frankly, I believe there are issues, and they are probably right to be concerned, because people that have surface water in the city of Bakersfield long ago in 1976 bought rights to the Kern River. And so they have surface water rights, as do some of the other water districts. Many cities, I think they're the only city in Kern County that actually owns rights to surface water. Many other cities rely solely on groundwater. So they're in a much more, I believe those other cities are in a much more precarious position than the city of Bakersfield is.
But at the same time, I would argue we're all in this together. We got to make this work. I mean, if we keep having subsidence.
But here's the concern.
Please.
The concern is that those that don't have surface water rights will try to balance their books, if you will, on the backs of those that do.
So
they have a lot to protect and a lot to lose, and that's why they may want to create their own groundwater sustainability agency.
And that can be done? I mean, if it's one basin.
One basin can have multiple GSAs. There's no limit to the number of GSAs there could be. State probably doesn't want to have lots and lots of them, but there could be several.
But think about this. I mean, right now we have 411 water districts up and down the state.
I didn't say it was a good idea.
Right. No, I hear you. But, we're talking about consolidating those. And so would it not be to the advantage to have one authority? You could have multiple plans. We'll talk about that momentarily. Or is that seen as kind of big government talking down to each region?
I think each individual district and entity that can be on a GSA is going to have to figure that out for themselves. What is in their best interest and how can they best address that issue? I think it makes some sense to have one GSA and one plan. If nothing more, you avoid one step. If you have multiple GSAs, you have to have these coordinating agreements. Which you don't have to go through that step if you just have one GSA. So one GSA, one plan, but that plan would have different layers, chapters. Is that accurate? One thought here in Kern County is that in an effort to push this local control down as close as we can to the actual landowners and farmers themselves, we could have one GSA creating one plan with multiple chapters in the plan, each chapter written by a city or the county or one of the water districts. How large is the basin? Oh, it's. I mean, how many? What's the tens zone? Of that, couple hundred thousand acres, maybe. It's massive. So there are a lot of different interests. That are looking into this. We have over 20 members of the Kern Groundwater Authority now, and there are some that are in the basin that are not members yet. Any part of the basin adjudicated? None, not yet. Oh, okay, which could be good. I mean, adjudication does give certainty. So where do you go from here? I mean, you are ahead of the curve, at least in my mind, but like you said, it's starting. Well, now, as I said, we're now down into the details, and we're trying to, at least I'm trying to find ways to bring everyone to the table and get everyone to feel comfortable about being in one GSA. And how are you doing? So far. I mean, you got the voice. We're at least having. You got the voice. I got a great face for radio. They tell me. Too, but no, you got the voice to be firm. Well, but they all have to make their own decisions, and it's. We're at least having the conversation, and that's better than not having the conversation. We're having the dialogue. I know that sounds like no political speak, but at least we're talking, and that's what you have to do, and you have to hear. Not so much do I have to talk, but I have to hear what their concern is, and then I have to think about, well, how can we address that and still meet the concerns of the existing members? This is about the future. I mean, you're really setting the floor for future generations. And we have to get this done, because this part is just forming the GSA. Then comes the hard work of what goes into the plan. His name is David Couch. He is the chair of the Board of Supervisors in Kern County. We're at 23 ABC today in Bakersfield. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition. Excellent. Thanks.